Like, who am I without that? Who are you without that belief, without that core understanding of yourself as being broken or flawed in some way or valueless, whatever it is for you? Who are you without that belief? If you can no longer operate in the world from that identity's perspective, what's possible? What's fucking possible? Like for me, this is possible. Showing up as the real me here is possible. It's fucking scary. Ooh, I just felt emotion come up just knowing that, like, I'm being goddamn real here. I'm being goddamn real. I've lived my life believing that I am someone who doesn't have inherent value. And if I can no longer operate in the world from that perspective, what's possible? What's possible is freedom. And even though we all say we want freedom, there is free fall in the freedom. There is uncertainty. There is unknown in that freedom. And we're also terrified of that because we cannot predict when we're in infinite potential. Hey there, you beautiful fucking human. It's Stephanie here, and today's gonna be a little bit different. I'm unpacking the concept of identity. So I'm not going to be doing ASMR today, but I hope that you stick around and unpack this concept with me because it is the foundation of the whispering adventures that I do create for you. My whispering adventures help you tune into you and settle your nervous system so that you can actually have an embodied sense of self and live from a place that's outside of identity, outside of those limitations. And I just want to share and be transparent about what I'm navigating for myself currently. Showing up and making recordings and being seen and doing all the things, it has triggered a part of my identity that was in my blinders. Even though it's a position through which I've lived most of my life, it's just felt like so normal that that's just who I am, right? And that's what identity is. It's just who we think we are. It's natural, it's comfortable. And I hope this unpacking serves you well and helps you see maybe a point of your identity that is keeping you stuck and trapped in an endless loop of suffering. So, if you're familiar with Anya Lincoln's work, great, beautiful, wonderful. Definitely get familiar with it if you're not. She has a book called I Am. And I'll put the title in the description below if you want to check that out. But she really helps you unpack identity from the lens of spirituality. And for me, after religious trauma, I have had a hard time piecing together these concepts that I have learned over the last decade plus. And Anya does a really beautiful job of pulling it together in a way where it's accessible even when you have religious trauma. So go check out her work if you want to dive into identity work a little bit deeper than what I will be bringing to the table here. So a recent identity that I have covered is believing that I am someone who doesn't have inherent value. And while logically, I know that's not true, my lived experience says it is. My narratives, the evidence in the world around me says that I do not have inherent value. Therefore, I must earn it through being invisible and keeping my real self suppressed. And this has surfaced because I'm doing the opposite of that, right? And it's become very clear that every time I show up and I'm my real self, this little tingling limitation comes up of like, oh, you can't really do that. Oh, you can't just really exist and express in the world and have that be enough stuff because you are inherently valueless. And it is fascinating how this core identity for me is connected to religious trauma. I was conditioned to sacrifice myself, to see myself as valueless in order to earn safety or earn salvation. Let that sink in. Let that fucking sink in. The religious trauma that I experienced taught me that I was valueless and I had to earn salvation. I had to earn love. I had to earn belonging. And I was born and raised in Mormonism, where faith without works is dead. And there's different flavors of this in all sorts of different religions, right? But especially as a woman in religion, and I don't know any religion in the world currently that isn't like based in devaluing women in some way, shape, or form. So that this identity through which I've been conditioned to live of seeing myself as not having inherent value, then puts me in a position of rejecting evidence that says I am inherently valuable. And this has been a beautiful thing for me to have experienced. I recently have had a 20-year relationship end that was born in religion. And since then, I have had people come into my world who just fucking like me because I'm me, just because I exist and express, and I don't have to prove my worth or value in any way, shape, or form. And this is how this identity has become very crystal clear to me of seeing that, oh, this contrast that I'm having is showing me how I've been operating in the world because of my religious trauma of seeing myself as valueless and needing to sacrifice my authenticity in order to earn a place of love and belonging in the eyes of someone else. Fuck. Fuck. Mm. Let's take a little break, take a little pause break, take a couple breaths. Let this sink in a little bit. Mm. So, unpacking identity is a process. It's something that we can see clearly in one moment and then get sucked back into that position as the place through which we have to live our lives. And it happens on autopilot. And it's so easy to feel like that experience is the lived reality of who you are because we have evidence, because we've lived from that place for so long that we've attracted people and experiences into our life to then confirm that belief. And this is really how our realities are created. We have this belief that we hold, and then we reject evidence that says that belief isn't true, and we readily accept evidence that proves that belief to be true. So even though we have access to all these different lived experiences, these different lived realities of who we are, we tend to stay sucked into the one that feels true, the one that we were conditioned to be, even though that is literally just a conditioned pattern that we feel safe to operate from. Because for me, operating from a place of worth and value is getting more comfortable, but God, it's still fucking uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because I don't know how to exist there. Whereas I was born and raised to exist from a place of seeing myself as not inherently being valuable just because I exist. So I have my journal here in front of me. I'm really not sure how much I'm going to use this or not. But let's just go through. I created a whole bunch of EFT tapping scripts to unpack this identity a little bit deeper. I did it with ChatGPT. I plugged in all the bullshit that was going on up here and said, "Hey, dude, let's like create some tapping scripts together." And I am an EFT tapping practitioner. I teach meditation. I teach embodiment, like the whole nine yards. But I wanted to share some of the things that were unpacked in here. And if you want me to share the tapping scripts, we can definitely do that. I'm just not really sure what people want or what they're interested in. But I'm just sharing my own personal journey here. So here we go. Sacrifice equals safety. Sacrifice equals salvation. So that was part of my conditioning. And then I shifted into this setup statement for a tapping script. This is one I created after ChatGPT did his things. But this is kind of what came out of that collaboration with him, is even though I've willingly operated in the world as someone who must sacrifice self, I give myself permission to see and surrender this position and identity. And if you're familiar with EFT tapping, that's considered a setup statement, and you say it 3 times as you're tapping on the side of the hand. But that's neither here nor there. Here nor there. So I did that, right? And the thing about identity is we tend to want to reject it and resist it. But where the meat, where the really like the secret to change is really where we own it and we embody it and we say, yes, this is the position from which I have been operating. That doesn't mean it needs to come with shame, right? It means that, okay, even though I didn't actively choose this identity, this is the identity that I created in order to have safety in a world where I needed that. And there's intelligence there. There's an incredible amount of intelligence there. And when we are children or young adults, we do have a place of necessity to have that, right? That's what our nervous system is for. We see the danger in the world. We see, okay, this is my caregiver, or this is how I'm provided for. I need to make sure that I don't cut off the hand that feeds me, essentially, cut off the hand that takes care of me. And anyhow, that's neither here nor there either. But like these identities were created in a space where they were necessary in order to have love, safety, and belonging. Um, God, this is, stick with me here. Stick with me here. All right. So even though I've willingly operated in the world as someone who must sacrifice self, I give myself permission to see and surrender this position and identity. And then I was tapping through the other points and just exploring this concept, really owning that this is the position from which I've been living my life. And some of the things I was saying is without sacrificing self, I do not have access to love, to safety, to belonging, to connection, to money or resources. For me, I was born and raised in Mormonism, where my position was to be a stay-at-home fucking mom. And now that I am no longer in the relationship that I was in, like I am in a precarious situation where I need to provide for myself. But this identity, this fucking identity that says I'm valueless in the world, has created resistance to actually being able to receive resources just based on my value that I inherently have, even though my identity says that I don't. So some other things I was unpacking is I, ooh, I'm lovable when I sacrifice myself. I am safe when I sacrifice myself. I belong only when I sacrifice myself. And these statements really helped me see that, oh, this is the position from which I have been operating, from a place of being valueless and needing to earn that through proving my worth and value. Um, Even though like the identity doesn't actually let me have that experience of proving my worth and value. That's the thing about identity is like it won't let in evidence that would have the identity die. Your identity will not let in evidence that would have the identity die, that would have the identity proven to be useless. And that's why it becomes a loop where it's a snake that's eating its own fucking tail where you can't get out of it. Because if you were to get out of it, then that identity would be dead. It would be dead. And the thing about identity is it doesn't want to die. Just like ego, right? Identity, ego, like one and the same, maybe, maybe not. I think ego is kind of a function of identity. Like we have these core identities, and then ego functions as different ways to keep that identity intact. So they're very connected. But let's keep going with this. I'm hoping this is valuable to somebody out there today. And then let's see, the illusion of identity. And that's what it is. The illusion that identity creates is that you need the identity in order to disprove the identity, but the identity won't allow disproving evidence in. So it creates this cognitive bias where we get stuck in the loop. So without sacrificing self, I am unseen, unloved, and alone. I will die unseen, unloved, and alone. But then the lived reality of this identity is that sacrificing self requires me to live my life now, unseen, unloved, and alone. So in order to prevent that thing from happening in the future, I've been living that way, being unseen, because I hide myself, right? And therefore, if you hide yourself, you can't actually be loved. And you're always alone because your real authentic self is being hidden. And I mean, I've been challenging this identity for a long time. It's just super clear right now. Challenging this concept of being valueless is how I blew up my marriage by really diving into my self-connection, owning my worth and value. And this is just another layer in this new phase that I'm able to uncover now. Shifting identity is something that is a process because there's it's like patterns of tension and all these different ways that weaves itself and entangles itself and supports all these different parts and pieces in order to keep it intact, to keep us operating from a place in the world where we know how to be, we know how to operate, we know what's going to be reflected back to us, even though we want to get away from it and we resist it. It becomes like this push and pull thing that we are blind to. The next thing I wrote down here is I'd rather live my life unseen, unloved, and alone than to be seen, loved, and connected as my real self. I'm going to read that again. I'd rather live my life unseen, unloved, and alone than to be seen, loved, and connected as my real self. Because if I was seen, loved, and connected as my real self, I wouldn't need this identity. I wouldn't need it. I wouldn't fucking need it. I hope this is hitting home for someone and connecting some dots for you. Okay. That this is the trickiness of identity. I mean, this is all the unpacking, getting to that core identity for me of being someone who doesn't have inherent value. Someone who doesn't have inherent value must live her life unseen, alone, and unloved. God, God. And then like questioning that, like, who am I without that? Who are you without that belief, without that core understanding of yourself as being broken or flawed in some way or valueless, whatever it is for you? Who are you without that belief? If you could no longer operate in the world from that identity's perspective, what's possible? What's fucking possible? Like for me, this is possible. Showing up as the real me here is possible. It's fucking scary. Ooh, I just felt emotion come up just knowing that, like, I'm being goddamn real here. I'm being goddamn real. I've lived my life believing that I am someone who doesn't have inherent value. And if I can no longer operate in the world from that perspective, what's possible? What's possible is freedom. And even though we all say we want freedom, there is free fall in the freedom. There is uncertainty. There is unknown in that freedom. And we're also terrified of that because we cannot predict when we're in infinite potential. We can predict when we're in a limited identity. So, who would you be if you couldn't operate from your limited identity, if it wasn't accessible to you anymore? Would you need to earn value or love anymore? By hiding yourself, by being invisible, by not being real? Oh, fuck. Fuck. So for me, the core identity that religion gave me is that I am valueless as my real, authentic human self. I am valueless. And believing that you are valueless means that your very existence creates shame. Taking up space creates shame. Being seen, heard, and having boundaries creates shame. And then we circle back into this identity. And this comes back to something I've talked about on social media over the years, where religion gives you a shame-based identity, where just being real and authentic and having the human experience is shamed. This is such a mind fuck. It's an absolute mind fuck because we see it and then we don't see it. We see it and then we get sucked back into the shame-based operating in the world because we have evidence around us, because a lot of other people are operating that way and are trying to hold us to that same standard. What I've learned since leaving my 20 plus year relationship and engaging in relationships where my worth and value aren't questioned. Like I can just be fucking breathing and be seen as worthy and valuable. And that experience has given me opportunity to question those assumptions that I have held about myself and to let go of that cognitive bias and the batting away, the swatting away that when people reflect your worth and value back to you, the contrast, the contrast. At the end of the fucking day, look at your world, look at your reality, look at the evidence that your experience is showing you, and you will find identity. You will find the place through which you operate in the world, that assumption about you, about who you are, the idea of you, the idea of you. Fuck living through the idea of you. Breathe and be in the body. Breathe and be in the body. Tap into that innate wisdom before the conditioning, before the ideas, before the shame of who you are. And from that place, infinite potential is. It is. It's scary because we don't have these boxes of limitation to operate from. And it's I feel like I'm rambling now. I don't know if anybody's gonna really enjoy this or not, but here, that's me not seeing what I'm bringing to the table as valuable, which is fine, which is fine. This is not dialed in. This is not like polished in any way. This is just me showing up in my real, authentic rawness, and that's okay. That's okay. Anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there because I feel like I'm just repeating myself. And I hope you're having a beautiful, fucking fantastic day, you goddamn amazing human. And I'm not whispering at this one, but I will talk to you next time, or whisper at you in the next adventure. Please do, if you find this valuable, like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you know when I'm posting things. This is me. This is me outside of a polished whispering adventure. I hope that it's enriched your day in some way, and you have a beautiful motherfucking day. Bye.